I'm Yahaya Gwamna, 34 years old, insurance professional. I have one daughter, and I am married.
So Yahya, what does being a father mean to you?
Being a father has been everything. My wife, for the lack of a better word, my wife thought I was a bum as a husband slash boyfriend. Like lazy, like what's their purpose other than like work and whatnot? Fatherhood is, I mean, I'm on my A game. Like I just won't take any, knows about it. I got the father thing on lock, just it's keeping my daughter happy, being there when she needs me. She's only 3, so her needs are very little, let's play, hold me when I'm sad, sneak me some candy. All right, guilty of that. But, fatherhood has just been everything. I didn't know how much one could give themselves to someone until she came about.
What is your relationship like with your father?
Great. We have a scheduled call every Saturday. Does not matter if he spoke to me on Thursday. Not much can change between Thursday and Saturday, but my dad calls every week. Talk about the weather, his life. It's, me, my 3 brothers, and, we're all just really close knit. My dad, our household's a bit different when it came to disciplinary things. My mom did that. My dad taught us how to feel. So, when we say, I love you to my parents, most likely we're saying it to my dad. That's my mom, not necessarily that she's cold, she's just not the one to emote like that. So I learned my expression from my father.
So since you did grow up with your father, how do you think that has impacted your life?
Since I grew up with my father, how did that impact my life? I mean, if you don't know any other way, it's hard to say. Now, knowing that I have friends that had grown up without their father and hearing their struggle, it seemed like they had to grow up faster than I did. I felt like the world hit them a little bit differently. I was sheltered. Um, went to a Catholic school. I was told by my parents that, man, you go to a public school, you're gonna get beat up, or things of that nature. Like just completely, just unaware of what was outside of me. My parents are both professors, so all we thought about or thought about was academics. We didn't worry about, you know, what does it mean to be a man in America? What does it mean to be a black man in America? Like we learned about racism, like racism is bad, but to really face the world on your own and only have one parent to go back to, or say a grandparent in some people's situation, I didn't have that. I always came home, my parents were there. I was a latchkey kid. I mean, they left us alone for quite a bit of time, right? But, at the end of the day, both mom and dad were home. We felt safe. Um, it almost seems privilege, when you look at some of the numbers for people that look like us, single parent homes is the majority, which is nuts to me. I didn't believe it until I heard about it when I was like in my 20s. I'm like, what are you talking about? I know no other way. And obviously a lot of those situations, it's out of their hands, right? You don't pick your parents. Sometimes your parents, don't pick you. Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they do know and they're gone, or for other circumstances they're out. But my parents were always there. And for me, it's like if I brought life into this world, I'm going to be there. No matter the decisions my daughter makes, I will always be there. Will I always agree? No. No. But I made the decision to bring her here. I have to support her no matter who she becomes. I don't have to agree with it, but I will love her unconditional.
So how old were you when you had your first child, and what was that experience like?
How old was I when I had my first child? And what was that experience like for me? I had my daughter live about a month and change before I turned 31. So I was 30 years old. Um, and she's a COVID baby. I don't know that. That's not why we had her, but things were different there. So I remember when I found out I was having a daughter. I think most guys grow up thinking that they want a boy, right? I'm gonna teach him basketball. I'm gonna take him to all these spots that my wife doesn't want to go to. Like, this is amazing. So I remember my wife goes to the appointment. I had to stay in the car again, COVID, and she gets an envelope. She hasn't looked at it, so we're both in the car together, and we open it, and it's as clear as it can be. It's a girl. All right. It says it's a girl. It's got a bow on it. It's got the circle around the parts saying it's a girl. And immediately I'm like, it's a boy. I already hallucinated. Like, I hypnotized myself to tell me, like, this is a boy. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I looked at him like, oh, dang. So this is real. Because I have sister. I just have my mom. My parents are immigrants, all right? So it's only my family here. All I know are my boys. Right? That's all I know. So it's not anything against being a girl dad. It is just like, I don't know what to do. I barely can keep my wife in the house. So I don't know how to handle a girl. And then a few months before that, when I found out my wife was pregnant, Kobe died. And I'm pretty closed off emotionally, typically pretty happy, but I keep it inside. That's the first time I cried in 20 years, was when Kobe died. And Kobe is the girl dad, four daughters. And I was dead. I could not believe it. Like I just couldn't believe it. Like, to miss out on all that, and he died with his daughter. I thinking about it makes me sick. And I just knew, like, I haven't met this person yet, but I will be there no matter what happens till the day I die. Um, yeah, it's been the greatest, the greatest experience for me.
I think you kind of already answered this, but I'll ask you anyway. Did you have a support system to help you as a father?
Did I have a support system to help me as a father? Yes. So again, COVID baby, my daughter was. Um, I got sent home alone because my wife got sick. She had a fever. So, I barely got the car seat in the car, and they're like, all right, man, you're good to go. I'm like, oh, you mean this staff of like six nurses that's been helping me for the last 5 days is not coming home with me? My parents live in Iowa. My mother in law is with my wife because she's very sick. So I'm home alone with the baby for a week. I slept 4 hours in 5 days. Um, but then came Friday, my mom came up, and I mean, it truly, when they say it takes a village, it really does. I don't know if I could go another day. I didn't see my wife till 2 days after that. My mother-in-law again was in the hospital with my wife, and my friends are busy working. So I mean, I did have a support system, but the first days were touch and go. But then when you need the support for real, that's when you realize, people are there for you. My little brother lived here, so he came and visited for a bit. Again, my parents came to visit once, people got over am I going to get a baby sick? Again, COVID, it's like, the village is here, right? Yeah, so I definitely had a support system when my daughter came into this world, and still do.
What do you enjoy most about being a father?
What do I enjoy most about being a father? The petty side of me would like to say, seeing a miniature version of my wife, and then my wife getting mad. I'm like, that's you. That's all you. That you didn't get that from me. The real reason, I don't know. It it's hard to explain until you become a parent. You just see all these little things, when they start pulling themselves up on the couch. It's like the greatest thing in the world. Or even going back further than that, when they start laughing over the stupid stuff that you do, and then you're doing the dumb baby talk that you've seen on TV and movies, like, I'm never doing that. Never doing that. or when your baby starts singing those dumb songs like Coco Melon or whatever it may be. I mean, I thought I'll never do that. I will never do that. Never gonna listen to those songs. She's gonna listen to John Legend and she's gonna like it. That lasted maybe 4 months, right? I just love everything about her and seeing the world through her eyes, and just the amazement and just wanting to give her everything. If money were no option, she'd be the most spoiled person in the world. So I'm glad that it is, a little hindrance. But I mean, I would give her my arm if she asked me nicely. It's, I don't know, it's not necessarily she's like my best friend, but we click. It's just, I just love the relationship I have with my daughter. She just knows, that I always will be there for her. Kind of going back to when, it was just me and her in the house. I think she kind of knows. So when she wakes up in the middle of the night, like 3 o'clock in the morning, she doesn't call for her mom. She calls for dad. I'm the nighttime parent. I'm the fun guy. Like, that's me. And I take pride in that. I will not trade that for anything. That's what I cherish most about being a father.
In what ways did becoming a father change you?
In what ways did becoming a father change me? Number one, I don't need to sleep nearly as much. I used to sleep 8, 12 hours. So good. Now, man, you really can function on 5 to 6. Good. Like, you just need just a little bit, to, roll with the baby. Um, Another things that's changed, I don't sweat the small stuff anymore. I don't think I thought too much about what people thought about me. But once I, brought my daughter into this world, all that little stuff just, it means nothing. Who's wearing the good clothes? Like, how much money you're making? Like, if I got my bills paid and my child happy, I do not care. You know, uh, that time, and granted, it's still that time in America, we were going through some turmoil. George Floyd died, Breonna Taylor, all that stuff. And me just dealing with it as myself as a black man, I'm like, oh, now I'm bringing another black person into this world. My wife's white. She knows nothing about it. And I don't share with her because it's hard to share the black experience. You just got to live it. It's kind of like when your parents tell you, like, you understand when you have a kid. All right. If you're blessed enough, you can do that. But you can't tell a white person, like, you understand when you get black. That, no, 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 no. Um, that's been like probably it's the biggest thing. You're trying to raise someone who mentally healthy, physically healthy, hopefully, a future, maybe not maybe a leader in this world, but someone who's adding to this, community, not a bum. Just all those things just weigh on you. That's like what's changed. Bigger picture stuff. But that small stuff, just I I have little tolerance for it. Like what shoes you're wearing, what kind of that material stuff. I'm like, yeah, I like good stuff, but my daughter comes first, always, above all things, and it won't change.
What was one of the hardest moments you had being a father, and why was it hard?
Okay, the hardest moment I had being a father, and I can think of two things. Um, One not as heavy as the other one. The first one was holidays. So again, COVID baby, and my in-laws live in Michigan. My parents live in Iowa. My dad, compromised. So trying to tell them like, hey, we can't come home for Christmas because COVID is everywhere. At that time, Iowa was like 50% rate of people getting it. I'm not bringing my daughter across state lines to that just to come home because we had no idea what was going to happen with that. Didn't have the vaccine or anything, so it was just like, there's not like a sign like Star David saying I have COVID. So explaining that to my parents, and my parents taking it personally, like you're keeping our granddaughter away from us but you're giving preferential treatment to your in-laws. And I'm like, that's not the case. The simplicity of it is that they're here, okay? They're 20 minutes away. You're 7 hours. That time is just so huge. And trying to explain it to someone who I'm like, you're an educated man. How does this not getting through your head? Like, my daughter comes first. And like, no matter what you think, I'm keeping the in-laws away. If they're sick, we got a thermometer. It's under the tongue. Like if they're, above whatever, they don't wash their hands, they can't see the baby. The baby is number one. Um, the other thing that I found was difficult, and this is a lot, like just a lot less, was was the actual, like shots. When you go into 3 months, 6 months, that first one almost killed me. Like she looked at me like I had betrayed her. Like, how could you let them do that to me? And I mean, I just remember her thighs getting all tense. And like when a baby or a kid hurts themselves and there's like that calm before the storm. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in the clinic. And I was like, it's going to be bad. And it was bad. And I was like, there's nothing I can do. And then she's shaking for like, I mean, almost an hour afterwards, just unconsolable. Like that was probably, that was probably one of the hardest things I had to do. Now she takes it like a champ. As long as she got colorful band-aids, she's like, where else you want me to put it? Like, arm, leg, doesn't. Have I ever felt underappreciated as a father? Ooh, yes. Oh my goodness. Like, okay, ladies, important. They bring the baby into the world physically. I like to tell my wife it takes two to tango, all right? And the first, I don't know, 6 to 9 months, not much you can do. Like, I'm fat, but I can't feed her like that. You know what I'm saying? You got formula and whatnot. She's the one that's got to get up in the middle of the night. I guess she could pump, but that's still a lot of work that she's got to do. Okay, so that whole time, you're walking around the house like, yeah, I'm sweeping, I'm getting the meals done or whatever, and no one's thanking you because it's always like, oh my gosh, look at your hair right now. It looks so good. I can't believe you just gave birth, or whatnot, and it's all due. Okay, but no one's like, who's getting on with the baby when she's crying, or you're doing such a good job, changing diapers, picking her outfits. We both do that, but the mom gets the credit. And now that she's a full on toddler, I'm chasing her around everywhere. Okay. And I think my wife has definitely come about to like, you're doing a good job. But I think just wholly, as a society, fathers don't get credit. And it's not to take anything away from the ladies. Two to tango, it's teamwork. And for the single parents out there, more power to you because I could not do this without my wife. I know that for a fact. But vice versa, she ain't doing it without me. Okay? Not a chance. Not a chance. Who's putting the cribs together? Who's taking the cribs apart because, you missed a part? My fault. But I'm doing that. Anything that needs to be done, that just fit, like it's on me. It's not even ass. It's just assumed. All right. And we just take that role on. But, we're in the 21st century. Like we all can do those things, you know? And so on top of doing my fatherhood duties, you're doing your husband duties. You're mowing the lawn. You're taking the trash out. You're compacting the recycling, even though you don't buy nothing, things like that. No one, they don't care about any of that, extra stuff. But that's just on top of what you do as a father. But it's your job. That I wouldn't have it any other way. I like the responsibilities. Doesn't mean that I got all the energy. I'm never not tired, or some days I'm like, put her in the garage. Like, I need a timeout from the baby. It's not perfect. Never will be perfect. But I think at the end of the day, it's the most rewarding thing possible.
Last question. What advice would you give to a new father?
What advice would I give to a new father? First of all, take all the advice from all those before you. Okay? I would not have made it through fatherhood without just listening to my friends who've been through it before because they've all seen it. But in that same vein, only you know your child, okay? So just because it worked for one person, okay, does not mean it works for them. I was raised by two Nigerians. Spare the rod, spoil the child. My parents believed in that. Got some stuff cracked on my back, all right? But my daughter ain't gonna see that, okay? We've learned more. We've learned more. I do not begrudge my parents for whooping me. I needed it, okay? 30 plus years has passed. I've learned some things, you know? You don't have to do that. Does not mean they're wrong. Anyone who beats their children now, that's on that, that's for them to to deal with. I don't want to do that with my child. I think it brings fear. I'm like 80 times her size, all right? Like the last thing she needs to see my big hand coming at her. There are other things. We can take things away. Um Another thing with I guess more things to discuss with, new fathers. Take time for yourself, okay? So yes, your child is everything. If you're lucky enough to have a partner to help you with and you have a support system, lean on them a little bit because hopefully they've been through it before. It took 6+ months before my wife and I went out by ourselves together. I mean, she would let me go, let me. I got to go play basketball, do things of that nature, but us together and just leave the child at home, we didn't do that for like 6+ months. A lot of that was on us. We were scared. But we had people around us, and if people are offering, hey, they can cash that check. If someone says, "Hey, we'll babysit," bet, take them up on that. Get out of the house because I love my child more than anything. But you need a break. Take it. If people are willing to offer that, take it. And here, the biggest one: sleep when they sleep. That's that's probably the biggest one. Everyone says it, but I got addicted to coffee because I didn't sleep. I was afraid. I was by myself for the first few days. My coffee consumption was probably by the pots because I was afraid of going to sleep because you're afraid of everything, Like, was that a cough? Was she crying about I don't speak baby? Sleep when they sleep. It will help your life tremendously.